10 Sights to See in Alaska. Home to some of the last and largest unspoiled expanses of wilderness on the planet, Alaska's untold natural riches really are amazing to explore. Appropriately nicknamed, the Last Frontier, America's northwesternmost state has a startling array of landscapes, views, and wildlife for you to check out. Separated from the contiguous U.S. by Canada, its vast forests, mountain ranges and glaciers mainly lie within the icy Arctic Circle. While its numerous national parks and pristine nature spots are often quite tricky, time-consuming, and costly to reach, those who do make it are more than rewarded with divine views and nature. Aside from hiking and kayaking about its confines, one of the most popular things to do in Alaska is taking a memorable sightseeing cruise up and down its dramatic coastline. While most come to see its marvelous mountains and glittering glaciers, the state also has some interesting historic sites and museums to stop by. With bears, orcas, caribou and wolves all often sighted, isolated Alaska really is the destination that keeps on giving. 10. Museum of the North, Fairbanks. If you want to learn everything there is to know about the state's history, culture, and nature, then the Museum of the North is a must. Occupying a distinctive modern facility on the University of Alaska Fairbanks campus, its collection contains roughly 2.5 million artifacts and specimens. Packed with interesting items and exhibits, its light and airy galleries display not just millennia-old Alaskan art but mummified bison, mammoths, and dinosaurs too. While some sections cover natural wonders and native culture, others look at the state's founding, Russian fur traders, and the Klondike gold rush. After having taken in its ancient artifacts and artworks and read the informative texts accompanying them, you can always stop for a coffee or explore its gift shop. 9. Alaska Railroad. A wonderful way to see more of the state's stupendous scenery is to take a memorable trip along the Alaska Railroad. Stretching 470 miles in length, it takes passengers from Fairbanks, near the center of the state and Arctic Circle, all the way to Seward on the south coast. Slowly completed over the course of 20 years, the remarkable route represented an astonishing engineering achievement when it opened in 1923. This is because it winds its way between soaring mountains, sweeping valleys, and alongside glittering shorelines. Magical waterfalls and ginormous glaciers can also be spied along the railway line. While some people travel along the whole route, most only complete shorter sections in and around Anchorage. Its staggering scenery, nature, and views, however, make the Alaska Railroad one of the world's greatest rail journeys. 8. Watch the Northern Lights. As Alaska lies so far to the north, it is one of the best places on Earth to watch the incredible natural phenomenon that is the Northern Lights. Also known as the Aurora Borealis, the spectacular swirling lights show can be enjoyed across much of the state, at almost any time of year. Due to its location under the Aurora Oval, and numerous hours of darkness in winter, many people head to Fairbanks to see their bewitching colors, shapes, and swirls. Dedicated tours, activities, and specially designed accommodations all give you the best chance of seeing the polar lights illuminate the night sky. On the outskirts of Anchorage and other cities across the state, visitors can also view the shimmering lights. To increase the odds, head to secluded, light-free spots with August through to March being the peak season to see them. 7. Mendenhall Glacier. Just north of the capital Juneau you can find the extensive ice of the enormous Mendenhall Glacier. Tucked away within Tongass National Forest, it occupies a humongous valley with bare yet beautiful mountains rising up around it, and verdant woods lying nearby. Stretching over 13 miles in total, it extends from the gigantic Juneau icefield to the mirror-like Mendenhall Lake. Due to climate change and the increasing warm weather, it is currently retreating with large chunks of it often carving off into the waters below. At its visitor center, guests can learn more about the glacier and take photos of it from the numerous viewing platforms along the lake. There are also several great hikes to do nearby, with Nugget Falls being the area's other main site. 6. Anchorage Museum at Rasmussen Center. Somewhat similar in scope to the Museum of the North, Anchorage's excellent institute also offers a fascinating insight into Alaska's art, history, lands, and peoples. Set right in the center of the city, its innumerable artifacts and exhibits can be found within the state-of-the-art Rasmussen Center. Since first opening to the public back in 1968, it has steadily grown into the state's largest and most prestigious museum. Its delightfully designed galleries now display thousands of objects, art pieces and specimens with countless historic photos adorning its walls. What's more, the magnificent Anchorage Museum also has an enthralling planetarium and fun-filled Imaginarium Discovery Center for guests to explore. 5. Sitka National Historical Park. Combining art, history, and nature in one unmissable package is the superb Sitka National Historical Park. Situated just south of the city of the same name, its lush woodland trails, towering totem poles and restored Russian bishop's house lie alongside Crescent Bay. Uniquely enough, the pretty park preserves the site of a battle between Russian fur traders and local Tlingit Indians. As well as wandering along its quiet trails and seeing its terrific totem poles, visitors can learn more about Russia's involvement in Alaska in the 1842 Bishop's House. One of the few surviving examples of the nation's colonial architecture in North America, it houses exhibits on the Orthodox Church and Russian America. In contrast, the park's cultural center shines a light on Sitka and southeastern Alaska's indigenous peoples. 4. Kenai Fjords National Park. Just southwest of Seward is one of Alaska's most picturesque national park, the Kenai Fjords National Park. Mostly made up of the almost endless Harding Icefield, its dramatic coastline, fjords and mountains offer up all kinds of unforgettable adventures. A geological wonderland, its ginormous glaciers, valleys, and rock formations cover a massive part of the Kenai Peninsula. The aforementioned icefield, one of the largest in the U.S., dominates much of its territory with narrow strips of forests and vegetation lying around it. Out on the ice, in its waters and on the park's mountainsides, visitors can spot a myriad of amazing animals. These include not just bears and wolves but otters, sea lions, and whales too. 3. Klondike Gold Rush National Historic Park. Examining an important part of Alaska's past is the brilliant Klondike Gold Rush National Historic Park in Skagway. As well as including almost all the small city's historic downtown, it encompasses trails and mountain passes with another unit also being located in Seattle, Washington. When gold was discovered in Canada's Yukon Territory in the late 1890s, thousands of prospectors set off to make their fortunes. As it was the closest port, the town's population swelled considerably with stores, saloons, and offices springing up overnight. Some of these are remarkably still standing today, such as Jeff Smith's Parlor and the Mascot Saloon. Aside from ambling around its atmospheric old buildings and railway depot, you can also head into the mountains where the prospectors passed. All these interesting historic sites provide a picture of what life was like back during the Klondike Gold Rush era. 2. Glacier Bay National Park. Not too far southwest of Skagway is another of the state's many must-see nature spots, the gorgeous Glacier Bay National Park. Only accessible by boat, plane or kayak, its inhospitable icy reaches are ideal for those looking to immerse themselves in nature with nary another soul in sight. Best known for its whopping Great Glaciers, the remote region was first surveyed in 1794 by George Vancouver of the HMS Discovery. Just under 200 years later, a national park was founded to protect its deep fjords, scoured valleys, and soaring mountain peaks. Those lucky enough to visit will find pristine landscapes and untouched wilderness with seals, orcas and whales often spotted in the surrounding waters. Grizzlies, caribou, and Dall sheep roam the park where some phenomenal hiking, kayaking, and camping can be had. 1. Denali National Park. The crown jewel of what Alaska has to offer, however, has to be Denali National Park. Besides being home to the nation's highest peak, it boasts some unbelievable scenery and nature with divine views and wildlife on show wherever you go. Unlike many of the vast state's national parks, its forests and valleys, rivers, and mountain ranges are easily reached by road from Anchorage. Presiding over everything is, of course, the majestic Denali, which towers 20,310 feet tall and is almost completely covered in sparkling snow. While a handful of hardy adventurers sometimes manage to summit the mighty mount, most people content themselves with hiking about the park's scenic confines. As you amble along its trails, you'll often see traces of bears and wolves, or spot caribou and moose far off in the distance.